Welcome back to Got No Control podcast. I am your host, Ronick, and today I stepped outside. I'm in the field, and before I introduce my special guest, I want to give a special thank you. Special thank you to Mayfred Shop, a graffiti shop located inside the Lamo Indoor Swap Meet. Make sure to check them out for all your graffiti supplies and airbrush services. Great people, great prices.
Wait. Airbrush services?
Yeah.
They actually bomb shit on shirts?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Made fresh.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Eggshells LA. Eggshells LA is a creative studio that provides high quality stickers that are non-removable and bind to most surfaces. So make sure
Like
to
my
check
nipples?
them out. So make sure to check them out at Eggshells LA and use Got No Control as a code to receive 10% off your order.
That's
so
cool.
make sure to check them out.
Clutching AK-47s, they look ready for battle.
You already know. Eggshells.
And with that being said, I want to give a special thank you and introduction to my guest today, Baba. How you doing today, brother?
Good. You?
Amazing.
You haven't figured out yet. I talk shit. This whole podcast is going to be talking shit today.
I want to start by giving you a special thank you for allowing me to come into your shop.
Oh,
and
thank
talk
you.
A little bit about your graffiti history.
Yeah.
And it's something different. This is my first episode that I do away from my studio. Many more to come. So
Because
we're
I'm
breaking
way
dice.
too fucking lazy to drive to Long Beach. It's my fault.
So for those that this will be the first time that they hear of Baba, those who don't know who Baba is, can you talk a little bit about what is Home to Baba and how did Baba enter the graffiti world?
Okay. I am the asshole of graffiti. End of story.
Okay.
I started doing graffiti back in 1982.
1982.
82. I'm fucking old.
Yeah.
I was highly influenced by Zephyr.
Okay.
Zephyr came to LA and they did this shit in Santa Barbara, but they stopped in LA and they bombed, and I was just like, oh, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right? I'm half Chicano. My mother's Chicana. So I grew up with gang graffiti.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of it. I did a lot of it. I loved it. But just Zephyr, all he did was a silver and black too.
Okay.
In 82. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, it just like burned something under my ass. Like, I just needed to go do that stuff.
You need to figure out what it was.
Yeah, I just did not understand the style and flow. Like, you know, Chicano graffiti is always very crisp and clean and straight lines and very, the style fits the neighborhood that it's in.
Yeah.
Like different styles, you know, you can spot an 18th Street piece from miles away and whatever. But like this stuff was just so fucking cool. So, you know, I found out later that my neighbor, this girl named Joni, was banging him. So
Yeah.
I thought I had that in. I was like, yeah,
I'm gonna meet him.
yeah, all this shit. I have letters from him. We've been friends for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was it.
And
then
where was this at?
he actually did a big silver in Venice.
Okay, Venice.
And my mom, after the divorce, my mom talked like I was on tequila.
Yeah.
My mom lived in Venice at the time because she had a nightclub, a punk rock nightclub, and I was living with my dad. So I went down there, and Joni lived down there too.
Okay.
And it was just epic. So I just needed to know. So I just dove right in. And when I found out who it was, I thought graffiti was part of hip hop.
Definitely.
And you realize that it's not.
Okay.
It's, you know, you had graffiti is the one thing that, like, kind of like skateboarding, like it had no race, it had no scene, it had no, like,
No identity in the way?
yeah, it was just these people got in, they got up and got out.
Okay.
Like, there was no way you can spot a writer back then.
Okay.
Great, you know.
And would you say that Venice was home for you?
No, the Valley was home for me at the time.
When you say Valley, what part of the Valley?
The East Valley, Burbank, and yeah, just Burbank. I was in a gang in Burbank, punk rock gang, and shit like that.
Is that where you spent most of your childhood?
No, I was born and raised in Hollywood.
Okay.
And then we moved to Van Nuys like around 4th grade.
Okay.
And then my parents got divorced, and I went to Burbank, and they went to, my brother and my mom went to Venice and here in Highland Park.
And graffiti caught your attention while you were in Hollywood or when you got to the Valley?
When I was already a teenager, like 12.
And this is in the Valley?
Yeah, but I was going for a weekend at my mom's.
Oh, okay.
Because you know, like you get dropped off for the
Yeah.
weekend.
And to your knowledge...
And in Burbank, there was nothing. There was
No?
nothing really in the Valley. And even tags weren't even a big thing in 82.
Okay.
It was different. But once your eyes open... This is the thing about graffiti is nobody really notices it till they start doing it.
Okay.
And when they start doing it, they start noticing tags more.
Okay.
Styles.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you'll be... Back then we were on the bus, and out of the corner of our eye, we saw throw up.
Okay.
So we jumped off the fucking bus. And
yeah.
we're like, what the fuck's this? Who's this? And that's just how it was. You didn't understand how to read it or recognize it or fucking appreciate it till you did it.
Definitely.
And once you did it, then you started noticing names. And even if you couldn't read it at first, because nobody had style back then,
Okay.
you might as well call it all wild style because it was all shit. Like, nobody knew what it fucking said. And you started noticing, so you would look at the tag, and the tags were horrible. And, you know, so you just had to figure it out. And once you figured out, oh, that says Prime.
Yeah.
Well, not using Prime as a shit one, because Prime's pieces were dope.
Okay.
But in the Valley at the time, like, you'd just see some crap, or you'd see some crap in L.A. or down in Venice, and you're just like, that's what made... Nothing looked like Zephyrs.
Definitely.
So when you hold that, like that's the top that you're going to compare everything to.
Yeah.
Everything looked like shit. Then
and taking a small step back. So
Yeah.
I know you mentioned you were part of a punk rock. You said
gang.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how was it being part of the punk scene? Was this before you entered the graffiti world?
Yes. Well, as a kid growing up in the 70s, you loved Kiss.
Okay.
And then from Kiss was a shock band. Like parents, like they saw you in a Kiss shirt, they were like, oh, that kid's trouble, or that kid's devil worshiper, or whatever they thought Kiss was about.
Okay.
So the natural progression was punk rock.
Okay.
Like you went either in the stoner route, where you went with like Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and all that. You were making crazy noise.
That'll be the last. Sorry.
Okay. You went the stoner route,
Yeah.
or you went the fucking disco route,
Okay.
because that's what was happening then. But then Black Flag's Nervous Breakdown, I bought that album in like 1978, 79, and it fucking was an eye-opener.
Okay.
Like it was just so brand new and raw and full of teen angst, which is what we as teenagers at the time or preteens were full of. Like we just loved it. And
Definitely.
it went with skateboarding. And it was like a soundtrack to skateboarding in a way, because you know those dudes in Venice, the Z-Boys and all, they
Yeah.
like changed the world with skateboarding, and then punk rock added a soundtrack to it.
Oh, okay.
So you were just like fucking pure aggression, like skateboarding everywhere, doing all this. And then you would go to punk shows with your friends, and only one friend had a car.
Okay.
So you would have to like jump like 18 people in one fucking car.
A guy in the trunk.
Yeah, exactly. To go to a show.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, those dudes from Venice are here, or those dudes from Hollywood are here, or those dudes from Burbank or North Hollywood or Reseda or whatever, La Mirada. They're here because we all showed up together. And then
Yeah.
it eventually, it's all started with the Suicidals. They started just being dicks.
Okay.
They would just jump motherfuckers. So then you would have you and your friends to protect each other at shows, and you're trying to enjoy watching Discharge or some shit like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just had to, you had your friends backing you up. So it turned into a gang thing,
Definitely.
like the Burbank guys. So we became Burbank Punk Organization.
Okay.
And the guys in North Hollywood, they're a little older than us. Their gang's a little bit older. They were FFF, Fight for Freedom.
Okay.
And then there was the lads in Hollywood and La Mirada Punks and Mickey Mouse Club and Suicidals or Venice. And yeah, that was it. But you would go to shows and you would just protect each other, and then turn into a game. It wasn't like traditional. There was like no drug dealing involved, and there was no actual organized crime involved. It came, but not at first. At first, it was strictly punk rock, and you'd go as a group, and then you know, later, you know, you got a reputation. Like some of us could fight better than other guys. So, oh yeah, some of those BPO guys, fucking badasses. Some dudes are pussies.
So you would rock like the bullet belts and the leather jackets and all that stuff?
What, you mean these?
Yeah.
Literally, yes. BPO, we were kind of like from the skate punk era, so we were, you know, we wore Vans, Creepers, Converse, Peg Dickies, and white T-shirts and leather jackets.
Because I know that punk rockers, they also, is that the correct term, punk rockers? I know that punk rockers were drawing their jackets.
Yeah, a lot of them. Like a lot of those dudes turned out to be writers later. Yeah, they would paint the leather jackets because that's what was going on in England.
Oh, okay.
So you saw pictures of like, for one, like Waddy from The Exploited.
Yeah.
Has a big red mohawk.
Okay.
And he had a guy playing guitar named Big John, who was a big fat ass with a big mohawk. And they had these leather jackets that were just bombed with band logos. And like one sleeve was red, one sleeve was blue. You had a GBH logo. And it was like what we thought punk rock should look like.
Definitely.
So people were bombing their jackets. And a lot of the guys that did that really well later became writers.
Gotcha. So at what age... You're doing the punk rock thing, right? At what age do you tell yourself, like, I know you know I know you mentioned Sephora was a big part of your influence in entering the graffiti world, but at what point do you kind of tell yourself, like, all right, this is something I'm really gonna do?
The second some chick noticed it, literally, I did a piece, and my name came about because my little sister couldn't say my real name.
Okay.
So she would tease me and say Baba, Baba, Baba. And all my friends would just tease me and call me Baba after that. And then it just came around. It wasn't even my name in the neighborhood. Like, it was a whole different name. Didn't matter. They just called me Baba. So I did a Baba piece, and I did it like, I didn't know what to rack. So I fucking took like red and blue and white and black and yellow, like whatever primary colors, and I just figured it out. And I did a shitty ass piece with a drop shadow. And some girls, is that you? I'm like, no. Why? Oh, I think it's hot. I'm like, okay, it's me.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, it was me. Turns out later that her older brother was one of the OGs in the Valley that painted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wrote Sky. He was the original Sky. There's a brother in Down to Kill, Sky, fucking amazing writer. But this guy, Sky, was like, he's from Chile. He was, heavily into salsa dancing and dancing, and he loved the new wave music that was out, and he was just like cool. He had a motorcycle.
Okay.
Like there was just so much cool shit about him. Yeah. And then the fact that he painted, but he was painting jackets like in '84, like killing them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so he
like jean jackets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he was killing them. So I didn't know at the time, but this was her older brother, and he kept it a secret who he was because his parents would have beat the shit out of him.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he kept it a secret. But like, I snuck in his room and saw his shit when I was like 14. I was like, oh, this is Sky.
Because at this point, you're dating a sister after that piece. Okay.
I was like, this is Sky. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then his best friend was a guy named Jack. And Jack was the original Joker that hung out with Bomb Squad that later changed his name to just Jack. Okay. And then later became Dante. Okay. So Jack went from the K2S era and Bomb Squad era. I just realized I was blocking my face. Went from the K2S era and Bomb Squad era, and then he went to go hang out Down to Kill with Charlie and Blinky, because Blinky was the shit. Blinky was amazing. Blinky would do characters you were just like, what the fuck? God, this guy's badass. Yeah. And Jack was part of their crew, and then he later, like in 85, 86, started hanging out with like Rival and them in West Coast. Okay. And then like he did this Sounds Good Stereo famous piece. Everybody thinks Risky did it. Yeah. It was Jack. Jack.
So did you start hanging out with Jack and Sky?
Yeah.
And then they started bringing you around all these guys?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's how I got introduced to the guys that would become STN.
Okay.
Like, but I was always like the little hang around dude. And I was doing my own shit because I was a little shit.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't wait for them.
Okay.
I went and just bombed. I took the bus from like, I was in a boys' home after a while in the West Valley because of, you know, crimes.
Yeah.
So I would take the bus from like the West Valley. Go ahead.
That's okay.
All the way to downtown. And then
wow.
we would try to find, it took us forever to find the tunnel.
Damn.
Like when we were on search for the tunnel, because these fools drove.
When you say tunnel, are you talking Belmont Tunnel?
Yeah,
Okay.
we just called it the tunnel originally.
Yeah.
And it took forever because we had to take a bus. Like they would just get on the freeway, get off the freeway, and fucking right there, bam.
And what was the thought process like? You're catching this bus for this amount of time because it must have been a couple hours.
Yeah,
What was the thought process like? Are you just like, man, I gotta go do my piece?
fucking like so much excitement. It wasn't even fun. You didn't even care if nobody was there and everything got buffed.
Yeah.
It was an adventure, and I think that's what people don't really understand about Graph is it was always an adventure, and when you got to where you were going,
Yeah.
you left your mark.
Okay.
And some of us left our mark the whole way there.
Kind of like, hey, man, I was here.
Like if you saw like a bunch of pieces on the way, you would get off on the next stop, run back,
Yeah.
check them out. If you had a camera, you would take pictures, and you throw up a tag or something, and then you get back on the bus and go back to your destination. But we were taking buses everywhere, every fucking where. And when we finally found
Yeah.
Belmont, it was like the holy grail.
Okay.
It was so fucking. The Marcella piece was up when I first found Belmont, and I was
wow.
like, "Holy!" I don't know if people know about the Marcella piece, but it was Jack and Blinky, and Charlie and Genius, and it was like the little Smurf huts with the Smurfs, and it said like Marcella,
Okay.
and it was like a whole piece, background, everything, like a whole wall at Belmont was this Marcella piece,
Yeah.
and we were just like, "That's what graffiti is!" Wow.
Like, whoa.
What the fuck have I been doing? And then you would just start biting. You had to. I mean, if
To
you
get
didn't
better.
if you didn't bite, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck who you are. You bit from somebody. You were inspired and you stole one letter. That's
Yeah.
usually how it was. You tried to like draw a line in the sand. Like if I only bite one letter and I make my own name after that, then it's not really biting.
Okay.
Because I created the other ones. And yeah, you bit.
Did you ever feel at any point around that time like an outsider? Because, I mean, you say you spent like a weekend in Venice, but for the most part you were in the Valley.
Yeah.
So coming to LA, the LA guys kind of look at you like, hey, who's
Oh,
this guy?
everything. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And the fact that I'm half white, but I look pure white.
Yeah.
It was even worse. Like, who the fuck's this kid?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met Prime.
Yeah.
I'm older than him.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, you're Prime. Like, where's your brother?
Okay.
Like, he was like 12.
yeah. Yeah.
This kid that was fucking killing everything. Like,
Yeah.
doing these beautiful, clean as fuck burners and shit.
Yeah.
And he's 12.
Oh, wow.
We were like, what the fuck?
How old were you at that time?
Probably 17.
Oh, so you were much older.
Yeah. I was 13 in 1980.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I was just like, what the fuck? Rick was older.
Okay.
You know, Crime was older and fucking, but the rest of them were like 15, 16. Like it was understandable. But
Yeah.
Prime was a little kid. And I was like, what the fuck? But it was all cool because you earned it.
Okay.
You had to travel. You had to go through bad neighborhoods, good neighborhoods, shitty and whatever. And when you got there, you earned it.
Okay.
And then if you had paint, and we wouldn't even paint it first because we felt like this is their yard. We got to be invited.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't understand that you could just get up. So we showed nothing but respect. And when I say we, it was usually like me and Danny Boy from House of Pain because
Okay.
he used to like to travel. And this kid named Ray, I won't say his last name,
Okay.
but he was Candyman.
Okay.
And he was from the Canoga Park gang. And we would travel wherever just to find a piece
Yeah.
that we heard of. Because Mario wouldn't take us.
Okay.
And Jack wouldn't take us. I don't think Jack liked Candyman. No. Danny was like very outspoken and like, you know, Danny was dancing and animated and shit like that. So
Okay.
like if you ever watch House of Pain videos, you'll
Yeah.
see how he is. But it was just insane. And we had no idea that there was like, I had no idea
Yeah.
that there was a whole world happening in the valley at the time that I was ignoring
To come to
because
LA.
I was too busy trying to be part of this scene at Belmont And LA, because to me, LA is where it was at. It was like baby New York. You were tagging on walls and buildings and all this shit.
Okay.
You're rocking burners. And at the same time, I think it was like 85, maybe 85, 86, whatever. UTI showed up.
Okay.
And we were like, I was like, I didn't hear about UTI. Charlie told me about them. And they were like, yeah, it's like uniquely technical illustrators or some shit like this. And under the influence. And UTI was like so far ahead of what we were doing already. But they were staying basically in the Valley.
So they were from the Valley?
They had a Valley clique, I guess.
Okay.
Because, you know, there was a lot of them like in Sun Valley and North Hollywood and like,
definitely,
you know, Central Valley.
Yeah.
Smurf was part of them. And Smurf was always at Belmont. Yeah, so there was UTI going on. There was GF.
And at this point...
And here's the best part is GF was part of BPO, the gang I was in, and I didn't even know they were doing shit. Like, I just didn't take them serious. And I bumped into Graham all the time. And then, you know, we just... Same neighborhood, same whatever. And then we just went out bombing together.
And at this point, Jack and Sky, are they still in the picture or they kind of did their own thing and you moved on?
Well, Mario Sky was... He's now this huge fucking coordinator for youth art services. That's his thing. He's always been like this mentor, teacher, whatever, and he loved art and he studied art. Like he did the girl with the pearl earring with pencil in like one day.
Yeah.
Like I just watched him. I was like, what the fuck? Like that type of art and that type of artist.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. Yeah. So Mario kind of moved on a little bit. You know, got girlfriend, did whatever. Jack got heavily into the fucking slang game and was just slanging coke.
Okay.
So Jack disappeared.
Yeah.
I already went to jail. And I haven't heard it. Every time I bring him up, like people are like, who the fuck, Jack?
Like, who is that?
Jack Estienne? I'm like, no, Jack Rodzinski. That's his real name.
Yeah.
It's like this Jewish kid from the Valley. You know, this is like, this guy broke too. Like he was breaking and first guy I ever saw with like Lee's and fucking suede Adidas and shit like this. Like Jack just fit the whole New York groove.
He had the whole style to him.
Yeah, he just had it. 'Cause he had the dough.
Yeah.
Nobody else had the dough. Even if you had the dough, you didn't know where to go. But this Jack had it. Jack had it.
Because at that time, hip hop was a big part of the graffiti culture. So you had writers that would be b-boys, MCing.
Well, I think they thought that they had to. The way I've always seen it is hip hop had like 5 things. You know, you had MCs, and you had DJs, you had breakers, you had poppers, and you had graph.
Okay.
But I think the only association graph had is all those other dudes did graph.
Okay.
But then so did stoners.
Yeah.
So did punk rockers and shit like this. It's like graph was part of hip hop, or hip hop was part of graph, but graph wasn't really part of hip hop. It's just like the guys that were in the hip hop thing, they did graph too.
Okay.
And you would see it. Like first time I met Blinky, I thought I was gonna meet this like fucking hip hop god or whatever.
Yeah.
This fool was like stoned.
Yeah.
You know, and he was wearing like army. Like there was a lot of Chicanos like heavily into metal back then. Like, you know, have you ever seen pictures of Carlos Cartoon?
Yeah.
Now he writes Bumps. Like he had like long curly hair and like they were all like long haired stoner dudes.
Yeah.
Like all of them, they were into heavy metal, early Metallica and shit like that. Like they weren't really part of like the whole hip hop thing.
So investing a lot of your time to come and enter what you can possibly call the LA graffiti scene.
Yeah.
On the way back home to the Valley, at any point that you kind of like, you know, do some type of work down there, like throw up a piece here? Or,
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But I also had my head up my ass and I was completely stuck up.
Okay.
Because I was a kid that went out there to LA.
Okay.
So I came back with like fucking attitude and all this other shit. And I made a lot of mistakes in graffiti back then.
Yeah.
Trying to be like fucking bigger than I was. And some of my work like really, really showed.
Yeah.
Like it was like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
Like I just didn't really understand. I tried so hard to be part of this thing that I didn't become like Baba the writer until like years later.
Okay.
And then years later, I found myself as like a true graph writer. But early, it was just all like so much culture. And, you know, these guys didn't know it, but I did. So I was showing off and like fucking, I was putting crap out there.
Yeah.
Like, but I was up.
Okay.
Then that was whether you sucked or not, or you did shit work or you did amazing work, people still knew who I was. So I was like, yeah, fuck you then. Like, it's to the point where now I'm like so fucking old with this shit. I just walk up and just start piecing, and they're like, where's your sketch? Like, the fuck's a sketch?
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this so long. It's like, graph should be a natural extension of like what your arm does, like from your heart to your fucking can.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's a tag or a throw up or whatever, you shouldn't have to sit there and
Yeah.
let me look at my iPad. What the fuck is that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was dudes who were like book kings back then that never pieced.
But they were super
They
dope.
fucking slayed books.
Yeah.
Book king. There was a kid named Primo D.
Yeah.
And I remember this fool used to walk around with like 100 Prismacolor markers with rubber bands, and his books were immaculate. Like, every piece in them was dope. Shandu rocked pieces and books. Shandu did real pieces, but like these guys, what was it? Double Vision Crew. That's what they were called.
Double Vision Crew.
Yeah, it was like Primo D and Blast and dudes like that, and they had like they must have been up all night rocking books.
Okay.
And they just perfected that shit. Like Deffer was really good at books.
Okay.
Deffer had like the cleanest shit. You're just like, how the fuck? And you try it and the fucking marker bleeds everywhere. Yeah. And Deffer was just like killing that shit. Same with Repo. Repo would do amazing books. Yeah, there was dudes that did that. There was dudes that like Whisk. I love Robert.
Yeah.
His pieces weren't all that.
Okay.
But he was everywhere. He took that other part of graffiti about just doing throw-ups, and he just fucking said, I'm the king of L.A.
Yeah.
And he proved it.
Okay.
And he did a bunch of fucking throw-ups everywhere. And then they had that, I think it was called DK5 or DC5, whatever the fuck that little 5 of them. It was like Def and Minor and Sir and some other guys, and they just fucking slayed LA just with throw-ups.
Okay.
Everywhere. And then when Daniel showed up, at first I didn't like Daniel for what he did, but now I really appreciate it. Chaka.
Okay.
Because we all had our heads up our ass by the time Chaka showed up.
Yeah.
And he just took it back to the simplest form of graffiti. And someone was like, but he can't piece.
Okay.
Or he can't do this or whatever. Instead of just appreciating what Chaka did. And he, you know, you need to be humbled. You need to,
definitely.
You need to be just, fuck. Graffiti's not about getting into nightclubs and fucking, you know, having nice cars and all this other shit. It was about getting up.
Yeah.
And just being up. And it's like an addiction where you're painting, you're tagging, whatever. And fuck yeah. And we all did it at night too. Fuck that daytime shit.
Yeah.
We didn't even know how bad our shit looked till the next day.
Is it fair
Killing
to say?
freeways, everything.
Is it fair not to cut you off? Is it
Yeah,
fair,
it's good. Cut me off. It's okay.
Is it fair to say that you were there for the construction of West Coast Graffiti?
I would say it's fair to say that I was there for parts of it.
Okay.
Because, you know, South Central had brothers killing shit.
Okay.
Like L2S. Like, what the fuck is that shit? They were like doing this whole fucking style, and you were like, what?
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay.
I can't even fathom how they came up with that shit. It's so dope. It wasn't even funny. But I was never really down there, so we didn't really understand that whole, like, their world. Okay. Their world was like
a whole different world.
They took that shit. You ever watch Style Wars?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're seeing people rock pieces. You're seeing Scene and whatever. And then when they got to the Case 2 part.
Yeah. Case 2 was the one with no arm.
One arm. Right. And this motherfucker's slaying these styles. And you're just like, all he did was come up with this shit. He just kept drawing and perfecting it. And he would take it out there and burn it. And you're just like, fuck, that's what L2S and the brothers in South Central were doing.
Okay.
Like, they were just killing it. Clever's crew, Def. And then, you know, like I said, Last to Serve. Yeah, they were
So you
killing it.
So you make it,
I wasn't part of any
Yeah.
of that. And I only witnessed what I witnessed by going to certain yards. Like Jefferson La Cienega yard was like one of the ones that we went to that was kind of south.
okay.
It was south to a point,
Yeah.
but like it wasn't as far as like Crenshaw Wall or some shit like that.
Okay.
Which we still went down there, but we weren't hanging out down there like we were at the tunnel.
Okay. So you're in LA, right? So you come from the valley to LA, you're back and forth, you're developing. What's next for you?
Cruise.
Okay.
I really, really admired Bomb Squad and K2S like it was nobody's business, and STN.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the pinnacle of graffiti.
Okay.
Like those crews were like the shit. Like it was like Strictly Kings or better.
Okay.
Like everybody in those crews was rocking shit like it's nobody's business. And you started thinking at one point that, okay, you had the letter dude, and then you had the guys who did backgrounds really well, and you had the character dude, you know, like Down to Kill had Genius, and K2S had Cartoon.
Yeah.
You know, you had dudes that did all the stuff for the pieces, and they worked together as a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
But then you really realize that just because fucking Genius rocked fucking characters for Down to Kill didn't mean he couldn't slay a piece.
Okay.
So then you started realizing that these guys were the shit. West Coast got all the credit,
Yeah.
even though West Coast got slayed a couple of times in battles. But they got all the credit because, like, you know, the East Side kids, their palette was different. It was more of a nighttime palette. It was like blues and turquoise and purple and, you know, whatever. And the West Side was all like pinks and yellows. And so you
Yeah.
could definitely see the difference. And the East Side stuff was more original and created,
Okay.
where the West Side stuff was bit from New York.
Gotcha.
Don't care what anybody fucking says about that.
Okay.
They bit from New York, and then they made their shit what it is.
And when you say battles, can you talk a little bit about battles? These
Yeah,
battles?
there was battles like at Belmont, and there was battles at Pan Pacific,
Okay.
and it was usually K2S versus West Coast or something like that. And
Okay.
you know, sometimes it was, you know, the stuff that Prime pulled. Like to this day, I'm still mesmerized by a piece of Prime pulled or
Okay.
a piece that Rick pulled, and definitely this one piece that Gallo pulled. This one piece of Gallo pulled. There's these three pieces that to this day can beat anything out today.
Okay.
And they're still that badass. And they were done with stock tips, and they were done with Krylon, and they were done at night. And
Oh,
they
wow.
still killed everything out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the battles were battles. Like, I wasn't part of the battle, so I don't know what the actual fucking rules were of the battles.
Yeah.
But the battles I was in, like, we'd battle a crew for a name. Like, if I beat you, I took your name. You can't write that shit no more.
Okay.
Or we'd battle for cans, like 100 cans or whatever. Yeah, I was part of those. But yeah, the infamous fucking K2S Wet Toast.
And these were all friendly battles, right? It was never like it got out of hand to like a fist fight or anything.
I'm sure there was grudges,
Okay.
especially since like after one of the pieces, one of the battles, like days later, everything got dissed.
Okay.
So, you know, the K2S was kind of pissed about that. But nah.
And how would they go about judging these battles? Like, who had the say so to say these guys won or these guys lost?
Well, back then it was like a thing. You knew when you lost.
Okay, it was
Like,
obvious.
you knew.
Yeah,
You knew. You were just like, oh,
they got me.
fuck. Like, and if you didn't, like, you know, you can never count on whoever the judges were, because, you know, judges can be fixed or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they might be friends or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. Fuck, battles were fun. There was a second generation battle
Okay.
where it was BC,
BC.
which was a younger West Coast crew,
Okay.
Blue Crew or Beyond Control, whatever the fuck you want to go. Basically, Whisk is younger crew
Okay.
versus MAK.
MAK?
Yeah, which was Modern Art Kings.
Okay.
But they were also, for the battle, they wrote Midnight Alley Cats.
Yeah.
And they just did this whole thing with cats in the alley, spinning chains, and did this rad piece all night at Belmont. And then BC did this fucking huge piece. It was like Doom and Ash and all them.
Yeah.
Versus Neo and Mondo. And, you know, that was an up in the air thing where people just didn't want to. Personally, I think MAK won.
Yeah.
But the Ash burner was fucking incredible.
Okay.
On the BC side, his burner stood out. Doom's burner was okay, but fucking the MAK piece really stood out. Like it was all together as one. And then you had the fucking 3-part televised fucking idiot battle. That's what I call it.
Which was?
Slick and Hex.
Okay.
3-part because a lot of people don't really realize that the battle kind of started in Red Hot Chili Peppers video. If you watch,
really?
Yeah, if you watch this Red Hot Chili Peppers video, you can see Slick and Hex both doing pieces in the background when the Chili Peppers are doing it.
Oh, wow.
And then later went to, did it go to Levitt's next? Yeah, I think it went to Levitt's and then it went to Belmont. Or it went to Belmont and then Levitt's.
Okay.
And it was cool, but it was kind of like, who's this really for?
Yeah.
Like, you got Hex, who told everybody he was from New York and he was really from Downey.
Okay.
If you watch Bombing LA, he's all like, Crayon's all like, oh yeah, well, me being from the Bay and him being from New York. So you had one dude who was fronting saying he was from New York, and I love Slick.
Okay.
Like, he's in my crew, or I'm in his crew, whatever, and he's badass, but he was from Hawaii.
Yeah.
So you had these two dudes who weren't even LA battling for LA.
Gotcha.
So to me, that's like, no.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're a LA rider, you're a LA rider born and raised.
So you say the next thing for you was getting into cruise.
Yes.
So at what point?
By the way, if you don't cut me off, I will keep talking.
Don't
So
worry
just be
about
like,
it.
shut the fuck up.
No, I wouldn't do that. But at what point do you get down with STN and start rocking with STN? And is that your first crew?
Oh, I was in some little crews first. Like I was in MGA and LABB and shit like that. But STN was like the first real crew. But the funny part was I was in the crew without knowing I was in the crew for a while.
Okay.
They considered me a crew member, just nobody told me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't writing it. I was like hanging out with them. Like in Bombing LA, you see me doing a piece and it says this for all the guys in the crew.
Yeah.
But you don't see Baba STN. Because
Okay.
I was never really told then that I was in the crew. I was told later. And then when the whole gang thing started, like when Rockwood got really big, because a lot of STN and stuff is all Rockwood and Rascals and fucking Crazies and all the football games. When the football gangs got really big, the Graph started taking like the back seat.
Okay.
You know, like a lot of writers became like gangsters and people were going to jail and the beefs were sleeping. And I love the beef. Like I loved fucking crossing out West Coast and starting all that shit. I loved it. It was like so much fun because it was like, what are they gonna do now?
Yeah.
And then what are we gonna do?
But it was all friendly, right? It wasn't kind of like I'm gonna go look for him type thing.
Yeah, but I was a dick about it.
Okay.
But
So things start slowing down.
yeah, it started slowing down, and then KSN approached me.
KSN.
Yeah, King Stop and Nothing, and KSN was like the LA All-Star team.
Okay.
So if you ever played Little League and you made the All-Star team, you know what I'm talking about. Like
Okay.
they had like the best writers in LA in their crew. And then when I got in it, Skep got really mad. He felt like I betrayed STN. I was like, well, I didn't.
I didn't know I was from STN.
And then, of course, you're fucking from STN. Like Gala was putting me up on roll calls, and so was Gabe. And I was like, oh, fuck, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I kept the beef alive.
Okay.
So I kept crossing out West Coast. And I almost got kicked out of KSN for it. I
Yeah.
got court. And when I got court for it, I got really pissed because I was like, what the fuck? Like, why do you guys care?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are battling them all the time.
Yeah.
And I found out that it was kind of like on the down low that those were productions, not really battles.
Oh, okay.
So I was very pissed, and I started MSK after that.
Okay.
So to me, MSK was like a true Kings. Like, if you came to me back then and you're like, yeah, I heard you write, I write. Well, fucking let's battle in this book right now, like just throw ups or something like that. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Or if you get called out, fucking defend your crown.
Definitely.
Definitely defend. That's what MSK was about, defending our crown. And then I put 2 people in MSK that I felt like really, really would fucking do it justice. One was Krenz, who was an East Side writer, who had BYI, and then later he started AM7. And the other one was Eclipse.
Okay.
And Eclipse kind of took MSK over and made it into what it is. But the first thing he did was put a group of writers in, some young writers, and they just fucking changed the world.
How does that go about? Because, like you mentioned, you start this MSK crew, right?
Yeah.
And you put these 2 guys on. How does that go about where he puts people down on the crew, like it being something you started? How does that go about?
Because I started it while they were standing right there.
Okay.
Like, I was pissed.
Yeah.
I just got finished dissing a bunch of risky shit.
Yeah.
And Vision shit and shit like that. And me and Jamie Vision almost got into it over that.
Okay.
But because Jamie was down to fight.
Yeah.
Kelly was never down to fight. Kelly was never down to battle. Kelly was never down to do anything with me.
But is that what you were pursuing? Like, were you pursuing
Not fighting,
conflict or?
Yeah, I wanted to battle. I wanted to fucking like keep this West-East shit alive.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know what I mean? Like the East Side versus the West Side. I just wanted to keep it alive.
Okay.
Because these fools were turning into rock stars while STN was turning into fucking, like, they were just wanting to bang.
Like gangsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So then the MSK thing keeps going, right? You have Eclipse and this other guy you say you put on?
yeah, Krenz.
Corinne, sorry. And how long do you go with you run with that?
It was like 8 months before I moved to New York.
Okay.
And then when I moved to New York, I was putting MSK up all over New York, and I was putting KSN up and STN. Like, I was hitting all the spots, like Harlem Wall of Fame, I hit. Fucking 238 Under the Bridge, I hit. Like, I was hitting everything.
Okay.
And Casey, while I was gone, mentored kids and put them in MSK.
Okay.
And the way I saw it back then, I really don't know how. I can't speak for him.
Yeah.
But the way I saw it back then was like MSK was like a training ground for AWR.
Okay.
And that's how it was. That's how I saw it. But these kids took my philosophy and my attitude about defend your crown and fucking just bomb.
Yeah.
You do burners, throw ups, tags, fucking pencil sketches on a fucking park bench, whatever it is. Fucking, if you're a writer and you want to be a king, you got to show that you're worth it.
Yeah.
They were doing this, and then they invented Heavens.
Oh, wow.
And when they invented Heavens, they fucking changed the world because MSK slayed that shit.
So,
nobody was doing it like them.
So when you come back from New York, after your trip to New York, how long was the trip?
3 years.
Okay, so when you come back 3 years, Eclipse stays down here and makes MSK, keeps running with it.
But it wasn't like it was like now. It was still small.
Okay.
But he brought them all to the shop.
Okay.
At the tattoo shop. And he was just like, this is the crew. And I introduced myself, and they were like the first members of the crew.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. And then it was just like I said what I had to say. I went out bombing with some of them a couple of times.
Yeah.
I showed some people how, like, you know, you may necessarily, like one time when I was bombing with one of our members who's like the top guy now. And I was looking, we were going to bomb over there by Pasadena Avenue and the bridge where Broadway comes over.
Yeah.
And I was like looking, and I noticed like an abandoned building, and we went inside the building, and I bombed inside the fucking building. So when cars are driving, they hit the window and you see my name inside.
Yeah.
And I was showing them like, this is what we used to call landmarks. Like, this will be up for
forever,
for a while. Nobody's even going to think about dissing this shit.
Yeah.
And I showed them how to space out letters because
Yeah.
we would space out letters so that when cars are going by. And I taught them stuff that I knew. And I'll go back to how I learned that in a second.
Okay.
But I talked to guys that I knew. I taught them this, and they took that to another level.
Okay.
And then I was just like, wow, these guys are fucking insane. I was so impressed with them. And then the second wave of MSKs when Sabre and those guys showed up.
Okay.
And, rest is history.
And you were still heavily involved at that point with them.
I was never really heavily involved because I was like, I had a show in New York.
Okay.
And then I made a bunch of money, and I wanted to tattoo, and I hit up Jonathan Shaw, who was like the best guy at the time, and I went down that road.
Okay.
Because at the time I thought, well, who's going to get any bigger than a show in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew, right?
Yeah.
Who knew that these motherfuckers would be getting like millions of dollars for a piece now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of stepped out of the scene.
Yeah.
And focused on tattooing and only did graffiti for me.
Okay.
Like, I was still bombing and shit.
But then that was for a personal pleasure.
Yeah, and that was just like, I got nothing to prove. I'm just going to bomb.
Yeah.
And then that's how that happened. So backing up to how I learned about spacing and shit is back in like 86, 87, Duster came to LA
Okay.
from UA. Put me and Relic and Repo in United Artists, which to us was like fucking God touching us.
Yeah.
Because Duster had the best pieces. And first time we went out with Duster, me and Relic and Duster painted the Levitt's Yard long before anybody else did.
Yeah.
And we did our best shit. Like, me and Relic were like, fucking, this is going to be so tight. And we look over and Duster's doing some big, stupid handwriting.
Yeah.
Like, stupid. Like, big, fucking. And we're like, what the fuck? We were so disappointed. Like,
Yeah.
we wanted to impress this guy, and we wanted him to fucking just shoot back and impress us, and he did this dumbass fucking shit. Next day, we went on the freeway, and all you saw was scribble, Duster. And we're like, fuck. Like, by doing it simple and pulled, like, spaced out perfectly,
Yeah.
you could read this shit. Because I don't know if people know about the Levitt's Yard, but it's like a mile away from the freeway.
Okay.
Like, it's you have to go over the river and all this other
You
shit.
say it's called the 11th Yard?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Levitt's building.
Okay.
And all you could see was Dusty. And he killed it.
Yeah.
So then I learned this, and he was telling me about trains on how, like, if you don't space shit out when the trains are going by really fast, you'll see scribble, Dusty.
Yeah.
So I learned that. So when I was doing trains, I did it that way too. And then when I was teaching them how to do freeways, because Dusty really got me and Relic and Repo and all of us heavily into doing freeways, and we were killing freeways.
Okay.
We were known as the first freeway kings. And it was either me and Repo or me and Relic or me and Graham. And it was always like, we had pieces on every freeway at the same time.
Awesome.
Like, and it was pretty cool.
I would just want to make an info that Duster is a New York writer.
Yes.
For those who don't know, Duster is a New York writer that came down
Famed
from
New York writer. Subway art.
Yeah.
Famed New York writer.
Would you say he was your first encounter of a New York writer?
Besides Zephyr, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him with Stash 2 the first time, Josh. And then later, when he came back the second time, he was with Med.
What year was this when you met Zephyr?
Zephyr was like 84-ish.
Okay.
And Duster was like 87.
Did you get to meet Brim when he came down here around
No, but, I saw that piece.
Yeah.
I saw it, and I saw that he used Wet Look Jungle Green. It wasn't Krylon Jungle Green. It was Wet Look.
Yeah.
And he did that like purple outline that it was like a plum outline, baby blue fill plum outline with that fucking Wet Look,
Yeah.
jungle greenish fucking drips behind it. And I was just like, that was back in those Discovery days.
Yeah.
I saw it with Mario.
Oh,
First-
wow.
'Cause I think Grim came out and did graffiti for,
He did this movie.
it was Breaking 2, I think.
It was called, I just recently posted on my Instagram. I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
But he hooked up with Ice-T or something after
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they went to Radio Club, which then became Radiotron. They
Yeah.
were in there.
With Carmelo the Pimp.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to talk shit. I never trusted Carmelo.
And this is Carmelo from Radiotron, right?
Alvarez, yeah. He would like supply you with all this stuff to do canvases. Then he would sell the canvases and nobody really got paid.
Okay.
Well, you know, you had the cost of the paint and the supplies and all. So that's a pimp. You do the work and he gets paid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never trusted him. Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't like me either, so whatever.
And as far as New York writers, would you say it was like the only encounters you had, Zephyr and Duster?
Zephyr, Duster, Stash 2, Brim, and Scene.
Okay. Did you meet Zim when he came down here at that time?
Yes.
Because I know he painted the Hollywood sign, and then
He painted the Hollywood sign, and then right where Amoeba was, there was a Jack in the Box right across the street.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like a dirt lot, and
Okay.
he did this big Dial M for Murder.
Oh,
Big
wow.
ass fucking blockbuster, top to bottom, typical fucking scene piece with the boulders breaking and
Yeah.
the red and orange background. It's a Dial M for Murder, and it was like, fuck. You know, I'm forgetting a whole part of this.
Which is,
So I'm half white.
yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of white writers.
Okay.
So the only two top white writers besides me that was doing shit like this, like I'm going to say blonde,
Okay.
because I had blonde hair,
Okay.
was Skate and Sleaze.
Skate and Sleaze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skate, Aaron was bombing everywhere. And Aaron would show up at the most incredible places. Like you'd be at East LA, fucking the Panic Zone, and Aaron would show up.
Okay.
And he would have a skateboard and a backpack with cans. And then Sleaze, first time I met Sleaze, I think he was with Jen.
Okay.
And he was like, I saw him and he was looking at me and we're just like, what the fuck? And I go, you're a writer. He goes, yeah. All right, Sleaze. And I go, yeah, I'm Baba. And he goes, oh, shit. Dude, you got me so much pussy. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, because, I was hanging out with STN, so we had that haircut, which is now kind of like a mullet.
Okay.
But it wasn't a mullet, but it was like we had a flat top with the long. And he had it too. And he goes, yeah, it's like I'm the only other long-haired blonde guy, and
Yeah.
all these chicks think I'm you, so I fuck them. And I was like, great. Love that I got you laid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie was always cool.
I know
And
you
both
mentioned.
of them have passed.
I know you mentioned these yards, right?
Yeah.
And before I get into that, may they both rest in peace.
Well, we talked about a lot of people that died.
Yeah, but
I used to call them the Lost Boys.
who, everybody that died, or
Everybody died. Like when Sign died, and Geo, and Junior from Down to Kill, and Quiz,
that
Risco. I used to write TLB. I'd put it up next to my pieces, and I would dedicate them to them, the Lost Boys.
does that take a big impact in you, like as a community, because there wasn't that many of you guys, and then losing
Yeah,
members?
especially the dumb shit.
Yeah.
And Gio got shot. I don't remember how Junior died. Risco was being chased, and I think his car flipped over onto the freeway.
Yeah.
Other brothers died. They got shot.
'Cause it was such a different time back then than what it is today.
It is. It was. It was so. I would fucking lose it if I found out my son did a third of the shit I did,
Yeah.
and where I was going, and to what point.
Yeah.
But it was very dangerous, but it was also very exciting. And remember earlier when I was telling you that it wasn't just hip hop. Like I would go to punk clubs.
Yeah.
Like one time I went to a Public Enemy and Fishbone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Deffer went with me and shit, and
Yeah.
he just went in a pit. It was so fucking cool. But Def originally used to hang out with KGB, which is another old crew, Kids Gone Bad.
Okay.
And, that was like the real Hollywood crew.
What part? Oh, that's Hollywood.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was straight Hollywood. Like David Arquette, you know who that is?
No.
David Arquette is the most famous role is Dewey from Scream.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's a writer.
He was from KGB?
Yeah, he's someone. SOME. So and he still paints.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of those guys were writers, and they were also part of the Lads, which is one of those punk rock gangs. And they were also part of another gang called Mota Locos.
Okay.
You know, it was all like this little, everybody had these like little tiny things, and 1 foot in a gang and 1 foot in graffiti and 1 foot in acting and whatever. It was just, that's how LA was.
How was it, you know, being here for the early stages of West Coast graffiti, or Los Angeles graffiti? How was it understanding the media part, like when the internet comes in, when the interviewers come in, when the shows come in?
At first, what was it called? Art crimes?
Yeah.
It was cool to search your name and see pieces you forgot about.
Okay.
And that was as far as it being cool.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. What was the other one?
I know you have 50 millimeters as well.
Yeah, 50 millimeter with Gabe in a unit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a cool one.
Okay. That was pretty popular.
Yeah,
in
that was
prime.
probably. I thought it was funny how they always had these ads for cans for like $3 and shit you never heard of. And,
Yeah.
but after that, it's just like I never understood like why you would want this publicity that anybody could fucking get into at any time and bust your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I said, I didn't know who Sleaze was when I was on the bus, and vice versa,
Yeah.
because we were just writers. Like.
Yeah.
But now everybody's, oh, that's this guy, that's this guy, that's this guy.
How important was it for you to have a yard? Because I know having a yard, it's very important. And keeping that up to date. By up to date, I mean having like burners and productions. How important was it for you guys?
I don't think we had a yard, but it wasn't just us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, for one, Tim Power.
Yeah.
Okay, Power was from the Valley.
Yeah.
Power used to hang out with Eric Duke,
Yeah.
and Duke and Power would just he would go with Duke and go to all these places too.
Yeah.
So Power was allowed to paint.
Okay.
And Down to Kill was painting. You know, even Wet Toast would come over and paint. And it was just like, it was cool to have a spot, but it was so much more fun to bomb in the middle of the night and rock burners.
Yeah.
Like, that was all cool. And we used to make fun of Repo, just as a side note, because he would take so fucking long on his piece. Like, he could do 5 pieces in the time it took Eric to do 1.
Yeah.
But his shit was so clean.
And you, being at like Belmont Tunnel, because I know Belmont Tunnel, you weren't painting at night, were you?
No, you get shot.
At what point do you?
The sun goes down, you split. We almost got shot one day by 18, and it was like, everybody was there painting, and then they just showed up and fucking wanted to jack everybody for paint.
Oh wow!
And with guns and everything. And fucking Repo didn't take it seriously, and some dude took a swing at him, and I took a swing back, and then we're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what? They just wanted paint.
Yeah.
Like, we went over an 18th Street piece, a tag.
Oh wow!
And they were pissed, but you know, there was some shadiness going on because there was other writers who were there that like kind of disappeared, and 20 minutes later 18 showed up.
Oh wow!
So we were like, did they fucking rat us out? But it was dangerous, like, you know. Well, it never happened in front of me, but I'm sure 2-3 people got shot at Belmont.
When Belmont shut down, right? The doors closed, how was it shifting onto like the streets now? Now you're doing the freeways.
Well, see, by then I was already so fucking, my head was up my ass with tattooing that I didn't even say goodbye to Belmont. I was like, it's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I make that mistake a lot. I take things for granted. I take people for granted. They die and shit like this. But yeah, I never thought Belmont would shut down. I never thought that there would be some fucking yuppie ass condos there.
Yeah.
Like, you drive by it now, there's nothing that even gives you a hint that shit was there.
Yeah, and I also seen that they were trying to make it into like an actual art center there, but the city didn't approve it.
The city won't ever approve anything that has to do with that shit, because when they approved it before, like Carmelo shit or whatever, all it did was spawn a bunch of new writers that caused all this damage to the city.
Okay.
You know, so they're never going to put money in it because they're never going to see graffiti as an art, because graffiti's not an art.
Yeah.
You know, we got to face the fact. It's illegal. It's vandalism. Fucking, you will go to jail for it. And that's what makes it fun.
Okay.
If everything was legal, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Big deal. You write graffiti. Oh, big deal. Did you ever bomb? Did you ever do this? Did you ever do that? No, because they don't have to. That's why the city will never do that shit. That's why when they had the Mocha show,
Yeah.
I didn't even go.
Why was that?
Because I didn't want people seeing me there like fucking, hey, can you tag in my book? And it's some fucking cop.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
graffiti doesn't belong in a gallery. It belongs on a gallery.
Yeah.
Like, and for some people, they needed that legitimate, to be legitimate enough to be in a gallery. Like, wow, fucking, I was in a gallery. I was in the Mocha. Yeah, fuck, I'm glad. I'm happy that you are. I don't give a fuck about it.
Okay.
I don't need that to, like, make me a writer or whatever. You know, to me, if some kid came up here right now and started talking shit, well, what the fuck have you done recently?
Yeah.
Or I'm putting in all this work and you're fucking doing a podcast, I'll be
Yeah.
like, you know, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Pick a spot. I'll go kill it later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go fuck your mom for talking to me like that. But point is, he's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
He's right. There's so much of us older guys that haven't really done shit.
Yeah.
We're painting.
Uh-huh.
We're doing canvases. We're doing who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, graffiti got you to that point, but is that like, I'm a tattooer? You should still be up.
Okay.
Obviously, just from me getting charged 2 weeks ago, I'm like, fuck, I'm afraid to do graffiti now. But then there's guys that actually sacrifice their fucking freedom for it. GK
Yeah.
went to prison, San Quentin, for graffiti.
Okay.
Who the fuck would have ever thought anybody would go to Quentin for graffiti?
Yeah.
He sacrificed himself like that.
And to still keep doing it.
And he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
And how did you feel when the street artists started coming around? Did that bother you at all?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a scene, it was deleted,
Yeah.
from the CBS movie
Yeah.
where Anger is just talking shit to one of them.
Yeah.
It was, fuck you, you're a street artist. You ain't a writer. You'd never be a writer. I'll fucking slap that shit right. Like, yeah, they print shit out. They wheat paste it. They do this. They fucking glue their shit, whatever. I mean, yeah, technically it's still vandalism.
Yeah.
But they never really say they're a writer, so they're not really lying. But it's just like, you don't, for what do you deserve fame?
Gotcha.
Like, what have you done?
Yeah.
I would say that Space Invader would be an exception because that fool put his shit all over the world and in places like only a writer would think about.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about landmarks earlier. But what has he done recently?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like Chaka came by like a couple months ago. I was like, fucking get up on my building, dick. And he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, now I have a Chaka tag outside my shop and I'm proud of it.
And how did the interest of tattooing come about?
I think it was always there. When I
Yeah?
was a kid, I used to hang out at a tattoo shop.
Okay.
And then during the gang days and the early graffiti days, I got tattooed in Hollywood and the magic wasn't there. But
Okay.
in New York, the magic was there.
Okay.
It's like a soul thing. It's a
Gotcha.
calling. Kind of like graffiti.
Yeah.
Like anybody can buy tips and low pressure cans and blah, blah, blah. I heard you can buy outlines at some of these graffiti places too.
Outlines?
Or you can pay somebody and they'll do your name like 20 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or there's graffiti apps for your iPad
That's
or
the
some
first
shit
time I
like
hear
this. And, you know, it's so easy to do graffiti. You can just put a board in your backyard and then
Does that ever put you in like a small shock knowing that like, damn, I went through all this stuff when I was painting and now I could just walk into the store and let me get a fat cap, let me get a skinny, let me get this,
Yeah.
let me get that.
yeah, it's weird. But the other night I had to pick up some paint. So I went to Walmart,
Yeah.
which you can't rack shit at Walmart anymore because it's all locked up.
Yeah.
But I was still taking tips. It's like you have to.
Yeah.
You just need to keep that little thing alive in you. I still look at
Definitely.
tags. I still tag. I was in Galveston when Temp passed.
Okay.
I was on tour and I was tagging Temp up everywhere.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, Tony was something else.
How was he?
He was just, I don't understand how good he was.
Okay.
Like he every time you think you saw every style that he had, he pulled another one out.
Okay.
And like he just kept up. Like he was always pushing himself like one step farther, and then he was still cool, down to earth.
Yeah.
Never got big headed.
Yeah.
He still banged.
Okay.
And all this shit, like, you know, Tempt was fucking amazing. Seriously. And I felt bad because I didn't see him forever. And then Lucy and Teller were like, we're going to go see him today. You better go.
Yeah.
And I have not seen Tony in like 25 years, 30 years. And like I walked in and he had, you know, he does things with his eyelids,
Yeah.
with the computer,
Yeah.
and he can make it talk or whatever. And it was really like, Baba, like that.
And screamed it out?
Yeah. And I almost fucking started crying.
Oh, wow.
Like, just the fact, like I felt so guilty for not
Yeah.
coming there sooner. And it was just so good to see him.
May he rest in peace. He's
Yeah,
going to be
fucking,
missed.
yeah. Which, you know, here's somebody who's loved graffiti so much that he was active on Instagram till he died with his eyes.
Oh, wow.
Like all that posting,
Yeah.
he did like this.
Oh,
Yeah, I have a picture of me and Lucy and Teller and Blanca, and where I think Gala was there maybe, and you know he's basically just strapped down in the bed, like the bed's just tight because he doesn't move.
yeah.
It looks like he's tucked in really well. It's just his head and a breathing thing.
Oh, wow.
And like you know, I never really got to say bye to Jack, which was sucked because he was in prison for so long.
Yeah.
And then fucking Cash used to hang out here when we first opened it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Cash could fucking kill people with his burners. The shit he would come up with, it was just nuts.
And talking about burners, how do you feel about the state of graffiti today?
Honestly, I haven't paid attention. I got really pissed off after the last time I was involved with anything
Yeah.
that I was like, these fucking kids are just whatever. You know, I battled anger
Okay.
in that battle, and it was a battle for charity.
Okay.
And it was Fear versus Create. Create, go fucking. That guy's a king of kings of kings.
Shout out Create.
I don't know how that little motherfucker can come up with so much shit, so big, so fucking dope. Eric is fucking. Oh God, that's the king of kings.
Yeah.
He battled Fear, and I battled Anger. And it was funny how that
Shout
came
out Fear.
about because Anger was like, he put it out there. He was going to do a battle, old timer battle. And I made a joke. I wrote him and I go, are you going to have a fucking ambulance there with a fucking heart attack thing? and what if somebody breaks their hip? Is there going
Yeah.
to be insurance? I was talking all this shit. And he goes,
Yeah.
fuck you then. You battle me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Back in the day, I would have had my head up my ass and been like, Anger's too young. Like
Yeah.
he was from a different generation. I was like, why not? Like, me and Anger are friends. This would be cool. CBS, I've never battled anybody from CBS. I've always been like cool with CBS and not cool with CBS.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be cool. But then unfortunately, the kid, Ghoulie, died like 2 nights before the battle.
Whose kid?
He wrote Ghoulie.
Okay.
And he was, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. His name's on the tip of my tongue. He's another CBS member. It was his son or
Okay.
stepson or who cares.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this kid died. So the Anger piece turned into his name,
Okay.
Ghoulie. So he got like the sympathy vote. And to be honest, Anger didn't, he was being such a good host because
Yeah.
he put the whole thing together. That he was taking forever to paint. I showed up, burned it, and left.
Yeah.
And, you know, popular vote is I won. Official vote is Anger won.
Okay.
But then I'm not going to make excuses. He won, big deal.
Yeah.
But he he did a piece for that kid, and it was kind of cool.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, there's so many. There's so many.
Is there something you would tell younger Baba today not to do?
Nothing.
No?
Because everything that little fucker went through made me who I am today.
Yeah.
If I go back and change one little thing, I could not have my kids or something like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm every mistake I made, every accomplishment I made me who I am. So I wouldn't change a fucking thing. The only thing I wish I did more was pay attention to my friends and, take them, say hello more, reach out to them more.
Okay.
I've been trying to reach out to Gallo for a year.
Yeah.
He's not answering anybody's phone call. My old best friend lives like 5 blocks.
Yeah.
Relic.
Yeah.
He lives right there. We rarely talk.
Okay.
Rarely. We talked before I went to New York or something. No, wait. We talked before I went to Arizona like a month ago. And
Okay.
Me and him are going to do a 10th piece.
Okay.
Yeah, that we're not telling. No, we're doing it in the middle of the night, and we're killing it.
Stay on the lookout for that.
You'll know. You'll know, because me and him we're to the point now where we'll just fucking sock a cop up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to jail for that shit.
You're not going to take me in for vandalism. Not
Yeah,
today.
and Randy's younger than me, but he's so fucking old now. So he looks like fucking, what's his name on the fucking Karate Kid?
Mr. Miyagi?
Yeah.
If they were to ask you today, your top favorite 5 graffiti writer from Los Angeles. who
From
is it?
LA?
Yeah, just LA.
I'm going to pick 2 that are not from our crew.
Okay.
Well, obviously one's Create.
Okay. Create.
Let me see who else would be on the west side that are still alive.
That don't matter, alive or not. It's a hard one.
Yeah. That is a hard one.
Really hard. Let's say your generation to make it easier. Your generation.
That's the only generation I was thinking of.
Okay. So we got Create.
PJ
We got Create,
and
PJ.
PJ. I was going to pick Rival, but PJ had this like soul about him when he painted. He was just so mellow and it was just cool. He was another punk rock gang member.
PJ was West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was from Winos.
Oh, wow.
They also had another skate, like a black skate crew gang called Scandals and shit like that, which I think Anger was from Scandals too.
Okay.
I think. Not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Gotcha.
Gallo, Crime, and Prime.
Gallo,
Prime and Crime.
Crime, also known as Rick.
Yes. I mean, Rick has forgotten so much shit, and he still beats everybody. He could wipe his ass, and it would be a new style.
Yeah.
Like Rick. Yeah. Rick knocked. Rick made you think.
As far as like think you got to get a better style? Or?
Like, that's possible.
Oh, okay.
Prime just never sucked. You know, when Prime got shot,
Yeah.
he lost the use of his right arm.
Yeah.
And he started rocking pieces with his left arm.
He kept going.
Yeah, nothing stopped Prime. And then, you know, Gallo is probably the most underrated king of LA.
Does I ever...
Is it underrated because he's so short? Or is it because nobody appreciated the genius that Gallo is?
Do you ever... Because I've been in conversations where with the younger generation who most of them don't know who none of you guys are.
Of course not. I don't know who they are, so fuck you.
But does it ever bother you, like mentally, like not mentally, but does it ever bother you kind of like, man, we were here from the jump. I don't expect you to love me, but just kind of give me a little bit of acknowledgement.
I think it's my fault that they don't know who they are, who I am.
Okay.
Because they have that attitude that we used to have that, you know, if you're not up, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's fair to say, like, at an older age.
Understandable, but like, why would they even look us up? Like, I guess I was studying other writers, but if I'm not doing stuff to make like this is going to help. People are going to know who I am, and I appreciate you for that.
Anytime.
And I appreciate you for doing this whole thing where you're documenting stories and fucking old timers before we fucking start wearing diapers and drinking through straws and all that fucking shit. But yeah, like I'm just happy that 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000 writers are forgotten.
Okay.
Like those kids don't know who they are either.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's it's kind of like those dudes were so fucking full of themselves that it's funny now that younger writers have no idea who they are.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, haha.
What do you see graffiti in the next 25 years? You think it's still going to be going strong, or do you see it becoming something else?
I hope it still goes strong. I don't want it to go the route of like digital.
Okay.
I don't want like hackers to leave a mark somewhere and call it graffiti.
Or like AI to take over.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want none of that shit. Even though AI is I was really amazed watching those German writers like what is it? Can K? Is that her name?
Can K?
It's a girl. And
Okay.
She rocks all these big ass murals and shit.
Yeah.
A bunch of styles. But at first it was kind of cool, but now it's just like, oh, this is like some AI shit.
Yeah, because imagine it gets to a point where like you just type a name and everything's virtual, and you're getting up virtual. You don't got to go outside.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck that. I'm the generation that if you were to show up, if I was to be banging your neighbor,
Yeah.
and I go out in the alley and I'm taking a piss or something, and you're over there tagging on the thing, and you're like, I go, yeah, all right. And then they just grab some brown and orange and some fucking ugly ass color out the garage and like, prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Shitty cans, I can do it.
Anything that shoots out anything.
I don't hide behind tips. I don't hide behind. I mean, I love them, but I don't hide behind them. I don't hide behind low pressure cans, high pressure cans. I don't hide behind any of that shit. You give me 5 colors, any 5 colors, an outline and a highlight, and I'll kill you.
There's a question that I have for you that I like to ask.
Yeah.
When Baba's gone, what do you want the world to remember Baba for?
Oh. Just being a true Angelino. You know,
Okay.
I loved punk rock. I loved skateboarding. I loved my Chicano culture.
Yeah.
I loved, I don't really have an Irish culture here.
Okay.
You know, who cares?
Yeah.
I loved my my graffiti world, my tattooing world, my friends, whether they're rock stars or fucking drug addicts. Yeah, I just want to be known for being a true Angelino, and that I love LA more than anything else in the world. That's why I haven't moved.
Yeah.
My whole family has moved, and all my friends are moving. They're all like running the cheap route, and I'm still here hustling. Yeah, just that this place is worth keeping and not giving it up to those fuckers from Ohio that are moving here.
I like to ask.
I live in Los Feliz. Like, where are you from? LA. No. Where'd you go to high school? Well, that was in Tennessee. Then you're from Tennessee, motherfucker. I grew here. You flew here.
Yeah. Well, again, brother, I want to give you a special thank you for allowing me to come down here to your shop.
No problem.
And talk about your graffiti history.
You're sorry I couldn't shut the fuck up when we got off point.
I really
We're probably going to
appreciate
need a part 2 and a part 3, and you know.
If you guys want a part 2, make sure to drop a comment.
Yeah, there's the whole KSM thing. There's the whole Hollywood thing. There's, Jesus.
So much more.
So much more.
Make sure to check out my website too, gotnocontrol.com. Make sure to check out the merch.
He's going to tag me, so I don't need to tell you.
And make sure to check out Baba. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.
Later. Thank you.